Hey everyone, my name's Emma Burdette, and today we're going to be going on a little field trip through the brain. So to start off, this is a little map of all the little places that we're going to be stopping on our field trip, except a few that we're going to bypass for today. So yeah, let's get into it. Our first stop is going to be the brainstem, and that is going to be located right here at the base of the brain, and it's going to be connected directly to the spinal cord. And some of its responsibilities are controlling our involuntary actions, which are going to be our heart rate, breathing, digestion, sleep, balance, blood pressure, all of those things in our body that happen without us really thinking about them. So we aren't really telling our heartbeat that it needs to be beating. We aren't really telling our lungs that it needs to be breathing in air. So next, we're going to be going to the medulla oblongata, and this is a little bit deeper into our brainstem. It's going to be at that bottom little portion of it, and it is going to be connecting our cardiovascular and respiratory systems. It's going to be where they meet. It controls some of our autonomic functions, which I talked about above, that the brainstem do. Heart rate, breathing, blood pressure, swallowing, coughing, sneezing. It also relays signals. It's a pathway for signals between the brain and the spinal cord. And lastly, it maintains our balance. Next, we're going to be stopping at the pons, which is the next section in the brainstem, which is right here. And it is going to be located between the medulla oblongata, which is right down here, and then our pons, which is right up here. And some of its responsibilities are going to be relaying signals, sending signals to the cerebrum and other parts of the brain. It also can help manage pain, controls our movement, regulates breathing. It contains the pneumotaxic center, which actually controls how much and how often we breathe. The pons also influences our sleep and connects the brain. The left side and the right side, that is. Next, and the last part of the brainstem that we're going to be traveling through is the midbrain, which is located right here, where I just circled. And it is located between the thalamus, which we'll talk about later, and the pons. Some of its responsibilities include motor control. It controls motor movement and reflexes, including eye movements. The ocular, motor, and trochlear nerves in the midbrain, control our eye movements. So the fact that we're able to look at one place and then move really quickly, our eyes move really quickly to the next, is due to our midbrain. It also plays a role in sensory processing, temperature control, cardiovascular control, and pain modulation. The midbrain has this region called the periaqueductal gray region, and that's going to be where it distinguishes between expected and perceived pain, and kind of tells us really how to learn to avoid these dangerous behaviors due to pain. So next, we're going to be traveling to the hindbrain, and our first stop there is going to be the cerebellum, which is right there where I just circled, and it's going to be located in the back of our heads. And some of its responsibilities are movement coordination, balance and posture, muscle tone, motor learning, cognitive functions, which are planning, judgment, decision-making, impulse control, and attention. So our next part that we're going to be traveling to is our forebrain, and that first stop is going to be the pineal gland, which is this tiny little gland right here. And it is going to be located in the midline of our brain. And its main responsibility is to produce melatonin, which is a hormone that regulates our sleep and circadian rhythms. So our melatonin levels are going to be low during the day, and they're going to increase at night. And the melatonin secretion is proportional to the length of darkness. Going a little deeper into our circadian rhythms, that is going to be controlled by the suprachiasmatic nucleus, which is synchronized to a 24-hour cycle by light and dark. Melatonin obviously is going to help us sleep better. The pineal gland also is connected to menstrual cycles and reproduction. Melatonin is thought to help our menstrual cycles and plays a role in sexual maturation. The pineal gland also has a responsibility in our mood disorders and can play a role in disorders like depression and schizophrenia. Next part of the forebrain is going to be the pituitary gland, which is right down here. And that is going to be located at the base of our brain and then in the temporal lobe, and is connected to our hypothalamus through a stalk of blood vessels and nerves called the pituitary stalk. And its main responsibility is to produce hormones. So that could be our growth hormones, prolactin, thyroid stimulating hormone, follicle stimulating hormone, or oxytocin. There's a bunch of other ones, but these are just the ones I chose. It also can regulate our body temperature, can control our stress response, and that's going to be by regulating the cortisol production, which is going to play a part in our body's stress response. And it can also play a role in our pain relief. It can produce endorphins and enkephalins, which inhibit pain secretions. So our next part is going to be the hypothalamus, and that's going to be right there. And it's going to be located in our middle part of our brain, above the pituitary gland. It links our nervous and endocrine systems via the pituitary gland, which is what we just talked about. And its responsibilities are going to be hormone production, temperature regulation, appetite, and as well our emotions, behavior, and memory. It also plays a role in salt and water balance. So next is going to be the thalamus, which will be right here in the center of the brain, right above the brainstem. And some of its responsibilities are relaying sensory and motor signals. It's the main relay station for the brain, processing all sensory information except smell before sending it to the cerebral cortex. It also regulates consciousness and alertness, and memory, planning, and emotions. Next up, we're going to be at the corpus callosum, and that is going to be right here, this big structure. It's actually the largest white matter structure in the brain, and it's going to be located in the middle, and it's going to be between the left and the right hemispheres. And some of its responsibilities are senses, movement, cognitive function, like memory and language processing, and problem solving and reasoning. Next up is going to be our hippocampus, and that's going to be this structure right there. And that is going to be located deep in the temporal lobe, about 1.5 inches deep above the ear. And some of its responsibilities are memory storage. It's going to help consolidate those short-term memories into long-term memories. It also plays a role in spatial navigation, emotion processing, decision-making, and flexible cognition, which is going to be able to switch between goals, plans, organize, and makes decisions. Next up is our amygdala, and that is right there. And that's going to be just right above our ears on both sides near the hippocampus. And some of its responsibilities are emotional responses. It can trigger emotions and physical responses to those emotions. It's stimulated by many things, including negative facial recognition, frightening images, and upsetting memories. It also is a part of our survival reaction, so our fight or flight response. It is important for memory and also decision making. So, now that we're done with our field trip, why is it important for us to know these brain structures? The brain helps us to understand these different regions and can contribute to essential functions like memory, emotion, movement, and sensory processing. Each structure has special roles, some that overlap, some that don't, and knowing these roles can actually help us identify various neurological and physiological conditions, which can be helpful with any pre-health students that want to end up in the science field. So if we know that our hippocampus is crucial for memory formation, this can help researchers and medical professions target treatments for memory-related diseases like Alzheimer's. The brain structure knowledge also supports advancements in neuroscience and medicine. Surgeons rely on this knowledge to avoid damaging vital areas during brain surgeries, while researchers use to create therapies and brain-machine interfaces. Also in educational settings, understanding how different brain regions contribute to learning processes can also inform teaching methods and help address learning disabilities more effectively. So why is the brain important to me? I think, first and foremost, the brain is what makes me me. All those little parts are what make me me. Our brain regulates our bodily functions, breathing, heartbeat, and sleep, which are things that we aren't even thinking about, but we need to be able to live. It also handles complex processes like emotions, decision-making, and learning. When you're studying or working or engaging in any task, different areas of your brain are hard at work processing information, solving problems, and helping you retain knowledge. All of these different structures and processes perform and work together to make the person who they are. It shapes our personalities, habits, reactions to experiences, and knowing more about these functions can help us understand ourselves better and to develop healthier habitats for mental well-being.